Hi children, you are very much surprised by seeing a plant in my hand. Do you know that you might have guessed already that what are the topic we are going to discuss? In the previous classes what we have done, we have known about the different uses of plants and the different kinds of food which we are getting. Now it's time for us to know about the growth of the plants, how the plants are growing, what are the different climatic conditions which help the plant to grow, and what are the different methods of agriculture, and everything we are going to know in this chapter. Now let us see before the first topic of our video is first of all we need to know about a seed. Why we need to know about a seed? Because most of the plants grow from the seeds. Seeds are the sources, seeds are the base of the baby plant where the baby plant is present. Now let us know about the structure of a seed. Basically, we will get the seeds from the fruits. From inside the fruits, the seeds will be present. Now, if you cut and open the seed, what are the things which are present inside the seed? Let us see now. Structure of the seed. Structure of the seed means if you cut the, if you actually the seeds are of two types. One is the dicotyledonous plants and monocotyledonous plants. What is this dicotyledons and what is this monocotyledons? Dicotyledons means the plants in which the seeds which are coming from these dicotyledonous plants, if you make the seed into two equal halves, we can make the seed into two equal halves. But in monocotyledonous plants, the seeds are, we can't make the seed into a two halves. Example for these dicotyledonous plants means peas versus beans, where we can make the seed exactly into two halves. And but in monocotyledonous plants like rice, wheat, maize, if you want to break the seed into two equal halves, can we do it? Obviously no. Now it's time for us to go to the inside the seed. Now if you see the seed inside, we will notice these four parts. Basically, what are those parts? Let us discuss. First of all, we are going to see about the, if you see the center of the seed, there will be a small notch. In this notch, there will be a small opening called as a hilum. What is this hilum? This hilum is a small opening through which the water enters into this seed, into this seed. This is called as a hilum. And around the seed, there will be one outer covering. That outer covering is called as a seed coat. And the, if you make this, if you break the seed into two halves, the one half, the two halves are called as a cotyledons. What is this? What is the use of these cotyledons? Means these cotyledons store the food for the baby plant which is present inside the seed. And now this the fourth one is the baby plant which is already exist in the seed. These are the four parts which you notice when you break the seed into the two halves. These cotyledons are also called as seed leaves, and the other name for this baby plant is called as embryo. And these are the four parts which we have discussed now. Now we move on to the next thing is the germination of a seed. How the seeds germinates? What are the different stages which we see in the germination of seed? What is this germination? Germination means the process of developing a seed into a baby plant is called as a germination of a seed. And this germination, how the new plant coming out of a seed is called as a germination. How this germination occurs, let us see now. What are the conditions needed for this germination is, first of all, the adequate amount of sunlight, the moisture, the availability of water in the soil, and the soil should be nutritious, which is helpful. These are the favorable conditions for a seed to germinate in the soil. And these, how these if the favorable conditions are not there, the seed won't germinate. It will wait till it acquires the favorable conditions. Now let us see the process of germination. Now, the seed which is fallen into the ground, it waits for the favorable conditions, what I just discussed with you. That is the adequate amount of sunlight, availability of moisture or water in the soil, and the availability of air also, children. Don't think that seed won't breathe. Seed will breathe inside the soil by taking the air which is present inside the soil, and also the necessary warmth as we discussed. And now the seed starts germinating. The first stage of this seed germination is the process of embryo coming out. The embryo starts germinating. What is this embryo? As I have discussed with you, embryo is otherwise called as a baby plant which is hidden inside the seed is called as this embryo. And first of all, the embryo produces the root system, the root which is coming out of the seed. If you know that the plant is divided into root system and shoot system, which one will come first out of the seed means root. This root emerges from the seed, and after breaking the, as soon as the seed acquires these necessary conditions for germination, immediately the seed coat breaks and the embryo starts producing the root first, and next the cartilage. Again, after the embryo grows for a radicle, the root grows, then the shoot will come out by developing the baby leaves. And these baby leaves are otherwise called as foliage leaves. And now you may get a doubt here, up to what extent these cotyledons are able to supply food for the baby plant. Now, when the baby plant is inside the seed, it cannot produce its own food. So, what it will do for the process of germination, it needs food. That food is taken by these cotyledons, which stores the food already in the seed. And till up to what time it will take, as soon as this radical which is coming out of this develops properly with the side roots and it starts absorbing the water, and then next the shoot system will come out with the small baby leaves. As we discussed, these baby leaves are called as foliage leaves, and these foliage leaves, once it starts developing the foliage leaves and start producing and expose it to the sunlight properly, then the baby plant start producing its own food, and the cotyledons will shrink and it will drop off, shrink its size, and obviously it will drop off. These are the different stages which are associated with the process of germination. Now we are going to the next topic which we move on is the dispersal of seeds. Now we are going to discuss about the dispersal of seeds. What is this dispersal of seeds? The seeds are moving away from the parent plant. Why do the seeds have to move away from the parent plant? Because if all the seeds fall at the around the stem of this parent plant means it don't get sufficient amount of space to grow, and there will be lack of nutrients, lack of sunlight, so many things will happen, children. So what they need to do, they need to have the seeds need to have sufficient amount of space and the nutrient availability of nutrients, warmth and everything. So they follow the mechanism of dispersal of seeds, as the seeds cannot walk and go away from the parent, so parent plant. So it depends upon the other agents which help in the dispersal of seeds. First of all, again I'll make you clear what is dispersal of seeds means. The process of moving away the seeds from the parent plant for the process of germination is called as a dispersal of seeds. And what are the agents, what are the things which help in this dispersal of seeds means, we can say it as wind, water and animals. These are the three things which helps in the dispersal of seeds. Now let us see one by one what are the plants which are depending on each agent for their dispersal of seeds. Now, first of all, we are going to discuss about the dispersal of seeds by wind. How the wind is helping the plants in dispersal of seeds. If you see on the screen, this is an example of a dandelion. Dandelion are here the plants which are where the seeds are dispersed by wind. Those seeds are light in weight, and second thing they have the feathery, and also the hair will be present on the outer surface of this uh, seeds and which helps in floating from one place to the other place with the help of a wind. The best example for is seeds are dandelion seeds, cotton, maple. These are all the plants where the seeds are dispersed by the wind. And next, coming to the dispersal by water. Now we are going to discuss about the plants where the seeds are dispersed by the water. Previously we have discussed about the wind. Now it's time for us the water. In the picture itself you can notice a coconut floating on the water. Why the coconuts are floating on the water? There are some plants where the dispersal of seeds will take place with the help of water. You are very surprised children. These seeds will be having the outer part of this seed or fruit is waterproof and light in weight and they can easily float in water. If you see a coconut, the size of the coconut will be very big. You won't even imagine that the coconut will float. Why the coconut is floating? Now I'll explain for you. The outer covering of this coconut is fruit is actually waterproof, but the inside that coconut is the seed. This seed, even though it is heavy, but it is able to float because of the coconut fibers which are present around the seed, and these fibers are filled with the air spaces and light in weight. That's why it will be floating. This coconut will be carried to the different place by the water, and there it grows into a new baby coconut plant. The examples of this coconut, we can see the plants are coconut, lotus, and as well as foxglove are the different plants where the seeds are dispersed with the help of water. Now next is the dispersal by animals. How the animals are helping in the dispersal of seeds. Now the dispersal by animals. How the animals are helping in the dispersal of seeds. There are few plants where the seeds, the outer surface of the seed will be having a hook-like structures where it will stuck to the fur of those animals when they are grazing the grass. And not only that one children, but also the animals like birds and fruit herbivorous animals, they will eat only the plants and also the fruits of those plants. And these birds and other animals, when they eat the fruits, and they will drop the seeds in some other place with their droppings, by the droppings of the birds and as well as the animals. Like that, the animals are helping in dispersal of seeds. The seeds of plants like cockleburr, mistletoe, these are all the plants where the seed dispersal is carried by animals and as well as birds. Like guava, apple, there are few fruits where the dispersal of seeds purely taken by the animal, birds, and by with their droppings. Yes or no? Now the last method of dispersal of seeds is by explosion. How this explosion takes place? Let us discuss now. Some seeds are disposed by the explosion. How this explosion takes place? These the parts of these plants, the pores of these plants, when they are exposed to the sun, or when they get dry completely, or when we touch, immediately these pores will burst open, and the seeds are scattered with some force. This scattering of these seeds with some force after the explosion of those parts are called as a explosion, dispersal of seeds by explosion. The best example for this is peas. Peas, and next one is peanut, and these are the some plants where we can see that the seeds are disposed by this explosion method. I think, I hope you all have understood about this dispersal of seeds, children. Next we move on to the how the new plants are grown by the vegetative parts of the plant. What are the vegetative parts? Let us discuss right now. In the